Have you ever dealt with someone so entitled they thought they owned the world? Well, let me tell you about the time some folks in a shiny new Jeep decided our private ranch road was their personal highway. They even had the nerve to act like they were some kind of HOA cops. Little did they know, they were about to meet my grandpa. And Grandpa doesn't play games when it comes to his property. It all started on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was out mending a fence line near the main gate when this gleaming white Jeep Wrangler, the kind that's never seen a speck of mud, pulls up. A man and a woman, probably in their late 40s, decked out in crisp khaki shorts and polo shirts. Get out. They looked like they'd just stepped out of a catalog for a gated community. The man, with a face that looked permanently pinched, marched right up to me. "Excuse me," he said, not so much asking as demanding. "We're with the new Mountain View Estates Homeowners Association, and we need to discuss your unauthorized use of this access road." I just blinked at him. Mountain View Estates was the fancy new development going up on the other side of the ridge, a good 5 miles away. Their main entrance was off the county highway, completely separate from our land. I politely explained, "Sir, you're on a private ranch. This road belongs to my family, and it has for 3 generations. I think you're lost." The woman scoffed, pulling out her phone. "Our GPS says this is a public thoroughfare. It's the quickest way to the backlots of our development. We're the HOA Enforcement Committee, and we're officially notifying you to cease and desist from blocking this road." I couldn't believe the audacity. I pointed to the massive, hand-carved wooden sign right next to them that read Blackwood Ranch, private property, no trespassing. It was about as subtle as a bull in a china shop. "Ma'am, that sign isn't just for decoration," I said. "This is a working ranch. We have cattle, heavy machinery. It's not safe for public traffic." They completely ignored me. The man puffed out his chest and said, "We'll be using this road daily for inspections. See that you don't interfere." And with that, they got back in their pristine Jeep, drove right past me, and headed up our road, kicking up dust like they owned the place. I was fuming. I immediately called Grandpa on the radio. When I explained what happened, there was a long pause on the other end. Then, all I heard was a low chuckle. "HOA cops, you say?" Grandpa said. "Well, I reckon they're about to learn a lesson in ranch etiquette. Don't you worry, son, I'll handle it." That chuckle usually meant someone was in for a surprise, and it wouldn't be a pleasant one. Grandpa has lived on this land his entire life. He knows every rock, every tree, and every trick in the book. He believes in being a good neighbor, but he has zero tolerance for arrogance and trespassing. He told me to meet him at the old irrigation ditch, about halfway up the road they'd taken. When I got there, he was already standing by the control valve for the flood irrigation gate, a mischievous glint in his eye. Our ranch uses a system of ditches and gates to water the pastures. The road in question runs right alongside the main irrigation channel. At one point, the road dips down into a low-lying area we call the basin before climbing back up. It's a natural low spot, and Grandpa had a plan. He looked at me and grinned. "They want to use our road, fine. Let's just make it a bit more scenic for them." He cranked the old cast-iron wheel on the valve. With a deep groan, the gate opened, and a torrent of water from the reservoir began to flood into the ditch. Since it was late summer, the ditch was dry, but it filled up fast. The water coursed down the channel, heading straight for the basin. Grandpa knew exactly how long it would take for the water to reach the low point in the road. "They should be coming back down any minute now," he said, checking his watch. "They'll find the road a little muddier than they left it." We hid behind a stand of old oak trees and waited. Sure enough, about 15 minutes later, we heard the sound of the Jeep's engine. They were coming back down the hill, probably feeling all high and mighty after their inspection. They drove into the basin, and that's when they saw it. The dip in the road was no longer dry dirt. It was now a soupy, gooey, mud-filled pit, about 2 feet deep with murky water. We saw their brake lights flash. They stopped for a moment, and we could almost feel their confusion from our hiding spot. But, driven by pure arrogance, the man decided to gun it. He clearly thought his brand new, top-of-the-line 4x4 could handle a little mud. Oh, how wrong he was. The Jeep plunged into the bog. The front wheels spun uselessly, sending thick, brown mud flying everywhere, splattering all over their once gleaming white vehicle. The engine roared, but they weren't going anywhere. They were stuck, royally stuck. The tires just dug themselves deeper and deeper into the muck Grandpa had so thoughtfully prepared for them. After a few minutes of futilely trying to escape, the engine died down, the doors opened, and the HOA cops stepped out, right into knee-deep, mucky water. The looks on their faces were absolutely priceless. Their fancy khaki shorts were ruined. Their expensive shoes were filled with sludge. The woman was shrieking about her pedicure. That's when Grandpa decided to make his entrance. He strolled out from behind the trees. Looking like the king of his castle, he ambled up to the edge of the mud pit, tipped his hat, and said in his calmest, most grandfatherly voice, having a bit of car trouble, "Folks." The man, sputtering and covered in mud, pointed a shaky finger at Grandpa. You did this. We're going to sue you. This is destruction of property." Grandpa just smiled. "Now hold on," he said. "Last I checked, this here is my property. I was just doing some routine irrigation for my pasture. It's a shame your vehicle happened to be parked in my ditch. And by the way, that sign at the entrance, the no trespassing one, that's legally binding." The color drained from the man's face. He knew they were caught. They had no right to be there, and they had driven straight into a mess of their own making. "Now," Grandpa continued, "I'm a reasonable man. I'd be willing to pull you out. My tractor can handle it. But a tow service like this, on private land, for trespassers, well, it's gonna cost you. Let's call it a trespassing and recovery fee. Say, $500 cash." They were furious, but they had no choice. They were miles from the main road, had no cell service, and were literally stuck in the mud. The woman begrudgingly pulled a wad of cash from her purse, her hands shaking with anger. Grandpa took the money, counted it carefully, and then tipped his hat again. "Pleasure doing business with you," he said. He radioed me to bring the big tractor around. It took about 5 minutes to hook up the chains and pull their mud-caked Jeep onto solid ground. It looked pathetic. They didn't say a word. They just got into their filthy vehicle and sped off, leaving a trail of muddy water behind them. We never saw those HOA cops on our ranch road ever again. The story became a local legend, a classic tale of Grandpa's justice. It just goes to show you don't mess with a man's land, especially when that man has a tractor and knows how to use his irrigation system. Thanks for tuning into our story today. It's always an adventure out here on the ranch. If you enjoyed this little slice of country justice, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from our neck of the woods. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Drop a comment below if you've ever had to deal with an entitled neighbor. We'll see you in the next video.